Before I start the video, I just want to ask my editor to go ahead and rewind to something that I said last week. Oh, editor. I hate this job. But I think that it is totally rational that in its 5th week, Top Gun Maverick is at the top of the box office again. That's right. Guess who called the Top Gun Maverick was going to be #1 again? This guy right here. Now, was it by a narrow margin? Possibly. But still, nonetheless, #1 is #1. You heard it here first. Now, actually, all joking aside, this was actually a really crazy week with the box office. I said that the race was tight this week, but I can't emphasize it enough. This was literally like one showing apart between this and Elvis. So get this, Top Gun Maverick made $30,500,176 this weekend, and Elvis only made $176 less. If it had shown in one more theater anywhere in the country, it probably would have been #1 this week. For all intents and purposes, this is basically a tie, but it's just incredibly impressive that Top Gun Maverick, in its 5th week of release, is back at #1 after not sitting there for the last 2 weekends. And not only that, but Top Gun Maverick is now the first billion-dollar movie since the pandemic. So I am editing this right now, and it would appear that I just completely forgot that Spider-Man No Way Home existed whenever I filmed this. That made well over $1 billion, so Top Gun Maverick is actually the second movie to surpass $1 billion since the pandemic. All right. Proceed. And I'm assuming that there are bonus implications whenever it comes to, who's #1 in the box office for some of these major films. So if I'm an exec for Warner Brothers right now and Elvis is at #2 and the separation there is by $176, I'm probably not thrilled this morning. I'm gonna venture to guess that bonus is probably more than 176. Of course, that's just speculation, but I mean, come on, there's gotta be something on the table if your movie hits #1. But $30 million for Elvis is still really good for a biopic movie that's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Very impressive. But I think its biggest weakness was the fact that it was 2 hours and 40 minutes. And I saw the movie this weekend, and I personally enjoyed it for the most part. Austin Butler is fantastic, but my biggest thing is that it is way too long. I know that this isn't an Elvis review, so I'll get back to the numbers. But this movie probably could have been cut down, and even if it had one more showing, it would have been #1. And that's not to say you can't have a long movie that makes a lot of money. Ultimately, you have to give people a reason to sit there for 3 hours whenever you include credits. And the Elvis reviews are good for sure, but they're not like glowing or anything. The best example that I would have of a movie that isn't a comic book film that's very long and made a lot of money is The Godfather. And if you've seen the miniseries The Offer, you kind of know where I'm getting at here, where the studio wanted them to whittle the movie down so that they could put it on more screens, have more show times a day. But the movie The Godfather was so good that people went and saw it anyway. So whenever it comes to Elvis, yeah, it got good reviews, but it's not like The Godfather. It's not, I think it's sitting at like an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, so it's good. It's getting positive reception, but casual moviegoers, they don't want to go there for 2 hours and 40 minutes unless the movie is fantastic. So overall, good showing for Elvis this week. This is about what I expected it to do, but $176 separating you from #1? That's brutal. Literally, the execs at Warner Brothers could have just bought out a theater one night and just said, everybody take your families, you're seeing Elvis tonight, or don't go, we don't care, we bought the seats. And you know what, if it weren't for the fact that Top Gun Maverick is like the biggest hit that's come out in years, then it probably would have reached #1. Like, who would have guessed a movie in its 5th weekend would make $30 million? That isn't a Marvel movie, mind you, and it only dropped 31% week over week. It's been fun covering this movie over the last few weeks because it just keeps chugging and chugging and chugging, and it makes me happy too because it's a good movie. It deserves to be doing the numbers that it's doing at the box office, and it's going to make a lot of money over 4th of July weekend. This is the perfect movie to take your family to go see. Are you kidding me? It's not going to hit #1 because, the Minions are coming out. Kids freaking love those little yellow things. So this is probably the end of its run at #1, but man, what a run it's been. 5th week #1 after 2 weeks of that dinosaur movie coming out and beating it. And speaking of Jurassic World Dominion, it actually had a good 3rd week showing. It made $26 million. It only dropped 55% over the weekend. I've personally managed to make it out and actually go see it this weekend. And you know what? I needed a dumb movie where I saw dinosaurs fighting, and that's exactly what I got. I don't care if it has a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. I had a good time with it. I went in not expecting a whole lot, and I had fun. But yeah, Jurassic World Dominion, it was always meant to have sustainability during the summer. That's why they released this movie in the beginning of June. So people are going to keep coming to see the dinosaurs and all of that, and it's doing its job. It's third this weekend. Good on it. But then the other big thing is the Black Phone came out and just casually made back its budget in its first week. The movie was made for like $18 million and it made domestically $23 million, internationally $30. So even if you factor in the marketing budget in there, it's either made back its money or it is very close. Ever since this movie premiered several weeks ago, it's gotten nothing but praise. But even for a film that's got a lot of praise, its premise, you would think, wouldn't appeal to a super wide audience. The plot, whenever you read it, is kind of disturbing, and I know for me personally, whenever I was forced to choose which I was going to go see between The Black Phone and Jurassic World Dominion, I understood that The Black Phone had better reviews, but I wanted to turn my brain off for 2.5 hours, and I wasn't exactly in the mood to watch the plot of The Black Phone. It ended up only being $3 million behind Jurassic World Dominion to finish in the 4th slot. The Black Phone's performance is great for low-budget horror movies, because we live in a post-pandemic world now where it's very easy for a movie like this with its premise to get thrown onto streaming, and for a movie studio to ask who's going to want to go see that. But The Black Phone proves that you can put out a horror movie with a premise like this, and as long as it's good, the audience goers are going to show up. Then another major point, sorry, this has been a crazy week for the box office. Another crazy point is Lightyear dropped 65% and it only made $17 million in its second weekend. I was optimistic last weekend whenever it underperformed at the box office, but now that it's in its second weekend and it lost to a film in its 5th weekend, a biopic about Elvis Presley, a movie where dinosaurs eat people, and a horror film in the middle of summer with all of the kids out of school, I would be very concerned if I was Disney about making my money back on this. This is a $200 million movie with a known IP, a known character, with the biggest movie studio in the world backing it, that is not going to make its money back. And look, maybe it will continue to have legs. I'm sure it will do fine on 4th of July weekend. But even then, it has to go against the Minions. Like I said, the Minions, the last movie, made $1 billion. And whenever I went to go see Jurassic World Dominion this weekend, the Minions trailer played beforehand, and all of the kids in the crowd were like, look, there's the Minions. I want to go see that. He farted. The kids are going to demand to go see Minions, not Lightyear. And what I said last week is probably going to happen in that Disney ends up putting Lightyear on Disney Plus like next month. I don't know why exactly Lightyear is underperforming. I think it's a multitude of reasonings behind Disney putting all of their Pixar movies on Disney Plus over the last 2 years. I don't know if people were really asking for a Lightyear movie. Then the movie not being universally praised the same way that other Pixar movies have been in the past. But yeah, if I'm Disney, I'm pretty concerned about Lightyear at the moment. So anyway, this ended up being a lot longer than I expected it to be. But there was just so much to talk about this week. I mean, come on. Top Gun Maverick reaching $1 billion, getting back to number 1 in its 5th weekend. Elvis doing great for a biopic, but only being shy of the number 1 spot by $176. That's insane. Jurassic World Dominion doing well. The Black Phone having a great debut, and then Lightyear underperforming. There's a lot going on in the box office right now. But anyway, that's really everything that I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. Subscribe for more if you liked it, and I'll see you next time.